was on here for a little mini episode in the car.
No, I was not. I was still in Indianapolis for the night showing.
For the night showing. He actually saw it slightly before me. So if you haven't seen the little mini video, you can feel free to pause this and watch that. I might end up going through some of my thoughts on it again, but it gives you kind of a good idea of where the people I was with.
I was thinking of also just pasting the two together into one big video. But
no, I was gonna do
them separate.
Yeah,
okay.
Why not? Because it ended up being 20 minutes.
Okay.
All right. So anyway, so this is our official, the non-mini driving home the movie. What the hell was up with this movie? I don't know. We're talking about Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, aka Dawn of Something Far Away, because it was always dark in that movie. And also, what was up with every plot point?
Yeah, this movie had so many, sort of plot points that never assembled into a plot.
I don't get it. And I was prepared. I was prepared for weirdness. I was prepared for Scott Snyder. For Zack Snyder. Sorry, Scott Snyder. You're actually, if you're watching, which you're not, your Batman 50 issue is great. No, Scott Snyder's the one who's writing the book right now. I'm talking about Zack Snyder, who is totally different and who
makes movies, 300.
He makes movies, and I don't understand. There's so much about this movie. And we didn't mind, if you recall, we reviewed Man of Steel. And while my feelings on it...
We accepted there were flaws, but it was decent enough.
I was actually fairly pleased with it at the time.
Yeah.
Now, I've changed my stance on it because I've seen people make points about it. I was like, okay, no, that makes a lot of sense. And there's a lot of stuff that's kind of messy about it. But there were parts of it that I could take. You know what I mean? It had slightly more cohesion. Then this one comes along. So, I don't even know where to start with it, but essentially, a lot of the people around the world don't trust Superman because of the stuff that happened when he first got there. One of the people who that is Bruce Wayne. And so when people start questioning another thing that happens a year and a half after the first movie, where Clark goes to save Lois when she's on location in Africa. They said somewhere in Africa?
Places of conflict.
I forget. I honestly don't remember. But he stops the guy, but then there's we don't see anything else, but we're told then by this woman this witness who was there to Congress, I think, that Superman did all these violent things and that he's a monster. And throughout the movie, even when we see him doing good things, it's always ominous music and people in the background, in the background on TV shows saying that well, should we trust him? And the movie never gives us a good reason to make us think we should trust Superman. This whole movie, they do the same thing to Batman, truly, but particularly to Superman, they don't give us any real reason for their version of Superman to be trustworthy. It feels like the message of this movie is that superheroes are a bad idea.
Yeah.
Which is weird considering the end.
Yeah.
But, so, yeah, it's just really weird how...
Because Superman and Batman don't do anything heroic. The only person who's really of any big influence and awesomeness in this movie is Wonder Woman.
I do like Lois, too.
As a superhero.
As a fisticuff superhero, yeah. Let's get it out of the way. Lois and Wonder Woman are both the two best things about this movie. Which, to be fair, were two of my things that I was that I said to not click off my list as far as if I could tolerate it. So I will give them that. Lois, while there are a couple moments where I was why did they shoot it that way? There's the bathtub scene that you kind of see where generally it could have been shot much better. As far as as focus, because she's acting the hell out of that scene. She has it's Amy Adams doing some really good acting, but they do these weird shots of just side boob, being able to see. It's just a little too lewd instead of focusing on her as a character who happens to be in the bathtub. it feels like they're drawing way too much focus on her body in that scene instead of what she has to
and
say.
her breasts are always in the center of the shot.
Yeah, exactly. It's really uncomfortable. And like I said, it's not that I have a problem with her taking a bath or having a scene where she's in the bath. In fact, I still kind of like him playfully getting into the bathtub with her. I was okay with that. I thought that was actually kind of cute.
But Zack Snyder shoots it like a porno.
Yeah, actually, someone said he shoots it with the water coming down, like a creepy slasher movie scene, where it ends with the water and you don't see what's happening. So it's like, that I can kind of see your point. I still don't mind the idea. That's the thing. A lot of the parts of this movie, not all of them. Some of them are just bad.
Some of the ideas are batshit crazy.
But
if you've seen this movie, you know.
Some of them, I don't mind the ideas, but then how they execute them is just really not good. And that's how I feel about a lot of it. But yeah, Lois is actually pretty good in this. She does a lot of investigating, and Amy Adams just acts the hell out of it. She feels very much like she cares about the character, and she gets Lois Lane. In a better movie, she'd be shining. She'd be so good, but she's very enthusiastic and wanting to get to the case, and she pushes Perry White's button just enough to get what she needs to get. Yeah, exactly. She takes opportunities, and she she gets people inspired to do to help her, which I really like.
Amy Adams does a good Lois.
She's really good, and I love her as an actress. So I'm really mad that she wasn't in a better movie.
I think of all the things in this movie, all the character performances are the best parts of the movie.
Some of them.
Okay.
Some of them. I don't know. I'm God bless it, but Henry Cavill or Cavill, I forget how you pronounce his name. Gosh, he doesn't I don't think he's given much. That's a big problem.
Do you like him better as Clark or as Superman?
Probably
which one do you
Clark.
Which one do you have the more problem with? Superman?
I will say Clark, the one thing I liked about Clark, and I mentioned this in the video yesterday, is that they did do a good job of pushing the idea that he sees the Earth as his home. He sees what he wants to do as Superman as him being from Kansas as a farm boy. That's his dream, and he talks about the planet being his home and him wanting to protect it. So I can appreciate that they did that, because that bothers me about a lot of other versions of Superman where they make it too much about him being a god. And it's well, he's not, though. He doesn't see himself as a god. He sees himself as a kid from Kansas.
Yeah, and it's really odd to push that so much as a plot point when it's really completely obvious that he's not that, or sees himself as not that
yeah, exactly.
to the audience.
Yeah, so I thought that was okay.
So it basically just adds this, is he a god motif for
There's a lot of, it was bad in the first movie, but the Jesus allegories, it's on Good Friday too. This came out on Good Friday. That was a nice touch. I also actually liked Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne more than I liked him as Batman. So the fact that they had a lot of things where Alfred was you should do this as Bruce Wayne. Don't go in the suit.
Yeah, his Bruce Wayne is really good, especially when he just has to be Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
And when he's being Batman or the detective, it's a little bit weaker.
It is.
And it's
a little
mainly
bit weaker.
because I think someone wrote Batman into a hole where he has to be obsessed with finding out who Superman is and finding out Superman.
Does he even
Superman.
Find out? He never finds out. The
We
great
don't even
detective.
know. Yeah.
The great detective. But the other thing too,
Lex figures it out in a scene that we never see.
Yeah. And Clark figures out that Bruce is Batman super fast. Super duper fast. But the other thing is that so let's get into the nitty gritty of this, and it's really the biggest problem for me. Look, I understand going into it that they were going to pull from Frank Miller's stuff, but it's kind of a problem when Bruce Wayne is he's using his power too much. He's killed people. Superman needs to be stopped because he's killed people and he's reckless. When he's using a gun and granted, the whole idea of of Batman not using guns but still hurting criminals. Yeah, it's a fine line, and sometimes you have to address the fact that there could be collateral damage, and you have to figure out how to write a Batman who is even slightly ethical, or figure out him acknowledging the fact that he has a wavering ethical standard, okay?
But this is a Batman with a giant gunship.
This is a Batman where one of the worst scenes for me, the scene where I started closing my eyes and I was just like, I'm just going to close my eyes until I stop hearing the sounds I'm hearing, is the chase scene with the thugs at I think the docks, where again, Batman's talking about how he doesn't want people to get hurt and stuff, and yet he's having he's shooting stuff at cars and making them flip over and clearly murdering people. He also, I'm not kidding you, takes brands criminals with a bad
branding
thing, and then
that was the stupidest thing I have ever seen inserted into the superhero genre.
It is such a Frank Miller loving 13-year-old's idea of a badass. Oh man, that's what Batman would do, and I'm like, no, stop it. And it makes it really hard. The first scene we see, it makes
it almost impossible to like Batman.
Yeah, and that's a frustrating thing because one of the first scenes we see first Bruce Wayne's a flashback. The very first scene is Bruce Wayne's parents getting killed. Which, to be fair, I was at the time thinking, oh, okay, they're gonna get this done early. This is just setting it up, and we'll move on, which I didn't mind. Even though then there's this weird, really quickly, there's this weird choice to have a dream sequence, which I don't explain as a dream, where he falls into the well, in a lot of the other versions, and then bats fly up and literally make him float up to the sky, and then we're told over a voiceover, in that dream of mine, I saw the light, and I was like, you didn't explain this was a dream. I thought that apparently in the DC universe, bats can make you fly. Because you had, there's no... Oh my god. So anyway, the next scene is the scene that you've seen in the trailers, where Bruce as an adult is rushing into Metropolis during the beginning during the big battle in the first movie, in Man of Steel.
Yeah, I would have actually really loved if this was the first scene in the movie.
Me too, but
because I didn't want the Bruce origin.
I didn't either.
I'm tired of the Bruce origin, and Zack Snyder added nothing to it.
And they use it later anyway, and if they'd use it later for the first time,
that would have been fine. They replay it 4 times.
Yeah, I think it might have been only twice, but it felt like that because it's such a long movie. But yeah, one of the best scenes is him being and it was something that it gave me a lot of optimism about the movie when we saw it in the trailer, was Bruce Wayne, rich, very, very rich man, Bruce Wayne rushing to Metropolis because,
to help people.
He ends up trying to help a employee of his whose legs had gotten crushed
by a beam.
And then he saw a little girl, and he stopped the little girl, and the first thing he does is comfort her, but then he realizes that her mother was in the building was Wayne Enterprises building in Metropolis too. And he's watching Superman fight Zod off in the distance, and he's so angry. And it's okay, this actually sets up pretty well the motivations of Batman. You understand why he would be upset about this, because Superman's created more orphans. And that's the one thing that Batman tries, he wants to stop kids from having to deal with what he dealt with. And it was a very good setup, honestly. See, there are scenes in this movie that I genuinely feel like if they were cut out...
Shot by someone else.
Even that scene wasn't that badly shot.
Oh yeah, no.
But cut out and moved aside, and you erased all the weird badness, and then you put them into another movie.
Which is probably going to be something that we talk about constantly throughout this film, but Zack Snyder needs a filter.
He needs a filter. And I think that they rewrote the script, and this was still what they got, and I'm like, how did you do this? So I don't think we're getting to... So again, one of the main problems is the fact that there's this whole idea that Superman's gone too far, but we never really see it except knowing... there's so many vague parts to this.
Yeah.
That so many vague ideas that don't come together. And the fact that, again, that Bruce Wayne is so, like, he's going,
He's going too far.
He's going too far. You keep using a gun. Like, and I'm not saying that...
And Batman's the one that's going too far.
Yeah, and it's really frustrating. And then, so we find out that a lot of this is being, or all this, like, animosity and, like, a lot of the suspicion towards Superman is being
fueled by
Lex Luthor, who is the son of, which is fine. I didn't mind that. Like, you're doing something different. That would have been fine. Jesse Eisenberg, actually, I didn't mind for like the first 2/3
of the movie. The first 2 acts of this movie, he's fine. But then once his plan gets revealed, and
first of all, it's not very good. It's a very convoluted
plan. It's a bad plan because no matter what he does, he's created a monster that's going to tear through the city. Even if Superman dies by Batman's hands, he's created a monster that's going to just destroy and bring down the world.
We're going to have to make notes where we on YouTube and on the website that we're just...
Yeah, we're spoilers.
Sorry, we can't get through this. I didn't mind him for the most part. I thought it was an interesting take. I had just seen the Gene Hackman version, so I was already used to kind of like, woo!
Manic, like
yeah, exactly. And I liked kind of his personification as like the younger guy who wants to like...
The younger Chuck Jonas, the Martin Scarelli type of villain.
Oh my god, yeah, he kind of is, isn't he?
Yeah.
So that was fine.
I mean, I like that.
So
it's
basically,
just
his characterization is fine, but some of the stuff that happens because of it is both like it doesn't make a lot of sense in story, but outside of story, it's fairly tacky on the part of the creators to include this stuff, if that makes sense.
When Lex is at his best, he's a villain that you always feel like he's a step up ahead of Superman.
At least for a while.
He's using his wits to be in front, to be ahead, to be a step ahead, to be in front of Superman.
And basically, you have to make everybody else fairly stupid for his plan to work.
Yes, and
some of it, honestly, I could actually see. Like chunks of it, I could see. Okay, maybe it would just cause like a lot of suspicion.
The whole fight about trying to bring in the kryptonite. Why even do that?
That was like really, there was a lot of prolonged stuff.
Just have it happen. So, you don't care.
So I mean, the biggest thing for me, and the part that really...
And also, I would have loved if they had a thing where Lex Luthor investigates and figures out who Superman is, because he figures it out by the end, but we never have a scene that shows that he knows. It's just all of a sudden he happens to know who Superman is.
I gotta believe that he's known the whole time. The only reason why I would think that, honestly, is because of the whole Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent meeting together last. He is a random guy who works for the Daily Planet. He's not even like the top. If it was like Lois Lane and Bruce Wayne meeting at last, that would actually make sense.
And we know he's investigating other metahumans. Maybe he already knows Batman and Superman are who they are.
Yeah,
that's very true.
But my biggest point here...
But we never get any establishment.
But yeah, but my biggest point is the fact that the only reason why he would say that is if he knew that both of them were who they were.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, haha! Again, I didn't mind that bit if I had... But also, by the way, that moment was shot better in the trailer. They used different edits for that. And I was like, that doesn't look as good. I don't know who edited the movie compared to who edited the trailer or whatever, but I don't know. It looks like a worse edited version of it because there were certain beats that should have been on certain characters, And I totally noticed it because I had seen that trailer enough that I recognized it.
Doesn't it feel slower?
It does feel slower, and it feels awkward, and some people were laughing. I was like, why are you laughing at this? We've seen it 1,000 times in the trailers. So, alright, let's step aside and talk about the other great thing about this movie, which is Wonder Woman, and the fact that I think everybody's excited for a Wonder Woman movie, but they should have been excited to be watching the movie that they were watching.
Yeah, Wonder Woman sort of pretty much is the best part of this movie.
Yeah.
Because she's investigating, she's got her case, she's got her thing, and you don't really know what she's doing, but she's got this drive and urgency, and it's she's doing something.
And she has a confidence, and especially around Bruce. Like, the stuff with her and Bruce is really good, and I'm not just saying that as someone who really likes their dynamic in general. Like, they just have this it's a very flirtatious, but it's nothing that where, like, she doesn't get together with anybody in this movie. She's not a love interest in this movie. She just has, like, this kind of, like, spying rivalry with Bruce because she gets the one up on him a little bit. I wish she was in more of it, and it's frustrating that she wasn't, but I also like what they set up for her.
I really wanted her and Bruce to start working together earlier.
Yeah, but then again...
Because it felt like maybe in some other draft of the script they did because of how early she comes in and how, like, she gets stepped aside in Act 2. But it really feels like at some point...
I think the movie would have been shorter because she would have figured this out and would have...
She'd be like, Bruce, you're an idiot!
Yeah, exactly. So... I'm trying to think where we should go from here. Oh, let's talk about the scene that maybe broke me. I think the scene...
The apocalypse vision with time travel?
No, that's actually... I actually forgot about that.
Yeah, there's a fever dream in Apocalypse, and then there's time travel.
Is it supposed to be Apocalypse?
Yeah, it's Apocalypse, invading Earth.
Got it, okay.
That's the Parawings and the... those are Apocalypse.
Oh, you're saying that... Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you meant the time travel was directly involved with the...
I don't know.
Here's
That's
the whole thing. This whole movie
all these fever dreams about Bruce pursuing, like, oh, Apocalypse is coming, and, like, they're obviously building this, like, a Thanos thing. But that should be something Clark should be getting. And not Bruce, because it's so weird to be giving it to Bruce to give him motivation to fight Clark.
Yeah, it's really
dumb. It can't be right.
But yeah, and then there's this whole thing where he also dreams a time travel sequence, which you thought it might have been Red Hood just randomly.
Because he's got a big metal hood thing on his face that pops
weird,
up.
Yeah. But
people said it was the Flash.
Apparently it was the guy who was playing the Flash who was shouting at Bruce that Lois is the key, Lois is the key. And I figured that whatever it was going to happen at the end of this movie because it's part of the movie. But no, apparently they're just setting up 1,000 things for the movie, which hopefully they better hope to God actually comes, or else that would be really
dumb.
Dumb.
See, what I really thought was that, remember the scene where she's going down the escalator, and then you see the guy that was there with her in the...
Yeah.
Those are Lex's goons?
Yeah.
I really thought they were going to do a thing where they might try to kill Lois.
I thought so too. Well,
and then it would be up to Superman to save her, while he is in the middle of fighting Batman.
Yeah, maybe.
And...
It didn't quite go that way.
It did.
Oh, sorry, I gotta go back, because I gotta talk about the thing that broke me.
Yes.
So, there's a scene where the guy who got his legs crushed is angry at Superman. And for some reason, I guess, it was really unclear whether his checks were being sent back...
Out of his own motivation?
Out of his own motivation, or if Lex had hijacked him.
Because Lex hints that he was the one that was motivating him
so
to do
basically,
that.
So let's just say that that's true then. So this guy, we're just assuming that our detective skills are correct. But this guy wasn't getting his checks but was specifically blaming Superman. Or he was bitter and he was blaming Superman. So Lex gets him this really nice wheelchair, and he says he wants to testify against Superman at this hearing that this congresswoman, who is played by Holly Hunter, I think, but she and Lex had this beef where she wouldn't let him have
his import
kryptonite, and so he doesn't, and she says something. She says this euphemism or like this folksy metaphor about how you can, you can hand me a jar full of piss, but I won't drink it. Something.
And you can call it like Aunt Jemima's sweet tea or something. And
I won't drink it. And it was like, okay, alright, fine. Well...
There's a big jar of sweet tea on her table.
Yeah, during the Superman hearing, she sits down after being mildly threatened by Lex. And there's a jar of pee on her desk. And it is like, why in the hell did they think that this was a good idea?
And the paraplegic guy's wheelchair blows up.
Yeah, but the biggest problem about this...
Mercy was there for some odd reason, just to die.
Yeah, they really play up the idea that her character is going to be big. I don't know if she has a line of dialogue in this movie. And then
she said something to Bruce once.
Okay.
When Bruce...
Oh, right. And then, but literally Lex lets her die. He tells her, "Oh, save my seed," and then no reason to have her die. Absolutely no reason. But
she's one of my favorite Lex people.
Metropolis side characters. Yeah, and it is really disappointing. It is so disappointing, especially because she's the only Asian American actor in the whole movie.
And she has 2 lines and dies.
Whole movie, 2 lines, dies, and it's just because her boss doesn't care.
She has a good presence in the movie. She
was
walks
fine,
around a lot.
Yeah, she walks around a lot. But she could have been really interesting. And once I realized that, because I for some reason I thought that maybe she was already an android or something, or a cyborg. Yeah. So I thought maybe she would walk out of it, Nope, yeah. He apparently totally threw her under the bus. And the fact is that scene, we see the guy explode. We see the explosion happen from the wheelchair. And that was the part where I thought, oh my God, no one should take their children to this movie. This is unnecessarily gruesome.
And unnecessarily violent.
Yeah, super violent, super gruesome, and really unpleasant. And again, I would honestly suggest that people have if you have a 10-year-old kid, watch The Dark Knight. Don't watch this, because The Dark Knight's dark, obviously, and it has implied violence, but it's done in a way that's way more tastefully executed. And here it's just for why not? Why not show the guy looking almost straight at the camera, confused, and then blowing up? Why not have a jar of piss as a threatening card, Why not do any of that, It's so unnecessary. So much of this movie is so unnecessary, and I got very upset with it. I think that was the part where I went, I'm not on board anymore. I can't be. And you can't even excuse this as they were trying to go for a Frank Miller thing. No, okay? They could have done this better. This could have been a better... Mm-hmm. Even Frank Miller at his best, this seems really unnecessary. So essentially there's a bunch of... I don't even know. There's a lot of stuff in the middle, but we end up cutting to Lex making his power move.
Which is basically him capturing Martha and capturing Lois.
Yeah.
Using Lois as bait to lure Superman out and to tell him that he's captured his mother.
Yeah, but here's the biggest problem with the capturing. So basically Lex says, "Oh, I'm going to use the woman you care about to make you do what I want." And he goes, "She's on the... I saved her already because you pushed her off the building. I saved her. She's on the ground." And he goes, "Oh, no, not her." And he hands her photos, particularly Polaroids. And lo and behold, they're Polaroids of Martha gagged and tied up. And they are extremely reminiscent of the Polaroids from The Killing Joke. They're not nudes, mind you. They didn't go there. But Diane Lane is basically you see her tortured, her eyes rolling in the back of her head, her hair pulled back. And it is super, super reminiscent of The Killing Joke, to the point where I was actually livid. You don't even... Apparently Barbara Gordon was cut out of the script, and she's going to be apparently in the R-rated version. We will see. But I cannot believe that they managed to not include Barbara Gordon and still managed to get the Killing Joke visuals, that particular part of the Killing Joke visuals, into this movie.
Tasteless.
It's extremely tasteless. It was so tacky, and it made me so mad. And yeah, I'm just like, I was so upset about that, and there's no reason for it. And like when you see her later, it's not like she looks bad, like she's tied up and she's scared, but she doesn't look like that. There's no reason to set that up like that. And it's clearly, it's not exactly fridging, but it's sure as heck close. It has to be one of those side things where like but anyway, so he is told, you need to
bring me the head of Batman.
Bring me the head of Batman. And as someone asked me today who hasn't seen it, but I told them about this, why does he want to kill Batman? Who the hell knows? I guess because the good guys will lose then. That's the only way I can think.
I really think Lex's overall plot was that he wanted to force them against each other so he had enough time to create Doomsday.
I guess.
But I don't see why sense. How does he kill Doomsday? Like, how does he control Doomsday? Why make Doomsday? Besides to kill Superman, who you're obsessed with. Like,
also this does make that trailer that showed Doomsday that much more stupid, because we were like, oh, that's not the actual like final boss. It'll be something else. And no, it's not. It's the final boss.
Yeah, I totally thought they were going to use Doomsday as like the thing that stops Batman and Superman from fighting each other and working together.
And it kind of does, but not really.
No, they use Martha as that key.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Sorry.
So
the biggest, this is maybe the stupidest thing in the movie. The stupidest. So again, it's like, you can't run away. If you run away, I'll know, and I'll kill her. If you don't get Batman in time, I will kill her. So Clark goes, and he tries for like maybe 10 seconds to tell Bruce, you have to listen to me, Lex is playing off of us, he has my mother. And then Bruce starts fighting him, and Clark says, we have no time for this. I'm like, then tell him again. Just say it, you have time. This is what they could have done, because they have this Bruce does this thing where he takes like some of the kryptonite and makes it into like a dust, smoke form. And Clark is, if he had done that right away and it, messed with Clark's vocal cords so that he couldn't talk at all, that would actually be way better. And then they could have tried to fight, and he could have been telling him the whole time and trying to be on the defensive,
Mm-hmm.
And then finally at the end try to say what he was trying to say. But instead it's like, Clark is is putting way too much effort into what should have been just holding him down and then giving him enough time to tell Bruce what's going on. But he doesn't. So, and then it gets to the stupid part, which is really, really stupid. That it's like, Martha, I have to save Martha. And Bruce goes, what did you say? Because, oh yeah, they both have moms named Martha. So then Bruce goes into another flashback where we see the exact same thing scenes from before, where he goes to the grave and we see Martha die again, and then we had to see Bruce's dad go, Martha, before dying, because it wasn't rammed home enough with the gravesite that it was Martha Wayne.
Twice.
Yeah, that we visited twice. So it's, like I said, it's really ridiculous. And as someone pointed out, that's the thing. So if Clark's mom was named anything else, would he have just kept killing him?
Batman would not stop killing unless their both mothers were named Martha. And that's the truth of it.
Yeah.
Batman is a murderer.
Apparently Batman's a murderer. So
only not by chance was his mother not named Martha. Or something like that.
Wow, anyway. So then they end up fighting Doomsday. I'm going to skip ahead because I don't care. They end up fighting Doomsday. Wonder Woman is amazing. The only time anyone clapped, the only time anyone cheered in our movie was when Diana finally goes and she does the thing, and there's this awesome guitar music. It was like, wait. It was so good. And suddenly, my face was, smiling. I was smiling during this movie when this happened. I'm like, if this is what the Wonder Woman movie's like, obviously it's set in a different time period and everything, so it'll be a little different. But if it's anything like this, I'm gonna be so happy. Like, I'm like, it was so much better. And she was so good in that. And, yeah, there was this whole, like, and her fighting was really cool. Like, her fight with Doomsday is actually really fun to watch. So yeah, like, there are parts of it, but mostly they don't have to do with Batman or Superman. And then finally, so Clark tells Lois that he loves her. He grabs the spear, yes, sorry. And instead of, like, I don't know, passing it to Wonder Woman, like having him hold it, pass it, he basically he chooses to stab
Wonder Woman, the Greek weapons expert.
Yeah, exactly.
Would be very well trained in spears.
Nope, he has to do it. So he stabs Doomsday, and Doomsday stabs him back, and because he's affected by the kryptonite, he's weak, and he dies. So Superman's dead now. Which, I mean, when it happened, I was like, I don't know why I'm even surprised. It's
because
Doomsday.
You used Day of Doomsday, so it's definitely Return of Superman. They're going to shoot him into the sun, and everything's going to be okay again.
It's mostly that I didn't think they would be stupid enough to do this in the second movie.
Second movie. The second movie.
Yeah. But then again, I didn't think that they would have him kill Zod. I said this in the first one. If they had him kill Zod in the second Superman movie in this run, like, have the first one be fairly optimistic, have the second one be darker, and then having to choose to, like, make the choice between Zod killing someone and him killing Zod, and then having this be like the super dark one where he has to deal with the consequences of that, but then we would have already established in the first movie what his feelings are and protecting people and helping out people without that darkness. And then having him die in the third one, that's an arc. That actually makes sense. That's like beginning, middle, end,
This is just putting your eggs in one basket.
This is just throwing stuff against the wall. Like, that's what that feels like to me. This, like I said, this franchise would have been so much better if they had actually let the first movie do stuff without Zod. That could have actually worked. In fact, they could have basically done, like, all that flashback stuff with Zod on Krypton in the second movie, and just had that be like, oh yeah, this also happened around the time Clark was shot off of Krypton, but they didn't do that. So there are a lot of other things we could say about this movie. I did like again, one of the things I did like about the way they handled the funeral was saying that, like, that where he's buried is Kansas, that his real funeral is at Kansas, home,
yeah,
in Smallville. I liked the fact that Bruce and Wonder Woman were talking about that, even though if the way Bruce had talked about him, it sounded like they actually knew each other for longer. This feels like a third movie.
Yeah, I also think that Zack Snyder just recently saw The Departed because he wanted to use a bagpiper in Kansas.
Yeah.
Which is really weird.
Yeah, it is weird. It's really weird. I don't know. But, and they're clearly setting up Justice League because they have Wonder Woman right before she goes off to battle. You see Wonder Woman checking out the files that Bruce had sent her from Lex's computer, where it turns out that they had Cyborg and Barry and Aquaman. I liked the Flash's one, and I liked Aquaman's one. Actually, Aquaman's one was really cool. The Cyborg one, I felt like was giving away too much. Like,
it was giving away his whole origin rather than actually setting up what kind of hero he is.
Also, it looked horrifying.
Yeah.
That was some horrifying, like, body horror stuff. That was kind of messed up. But I really liked the shots of Aquaman. He was very fish-like, and then he totally, like, destroyed a camera. It was great. And there was kind of a little, I don't know if he smirked, but there was a bit with Barry where he, like, raised his eyebrow after he stopped a bad guy, which I kind of liked. So yeah, at the end of the day, it's a mess. I'm glad it's over. I never have to watch it again.
This movie may have just ruined Zack Snyder films for me.
Yeah.
I don't have any interest in seeing another Zack Snyder
That
film.
is very true. I'm hoping he's off of Justice League.
I don't even want to see Watchmen anymore.
I don't either. We have
the extended edition on Blu-ray.
Yeah, I'm done.
And I really like that movie, but I'm just tired of it.
And there were good nuggets in here, so I know that it could have been salvageable. It was so, like, he doesn't get it. He doesn't get these characters. And the characters are fairly flexible, so I would have been accepting of a lot of different things. But here, it doesn't work.
And he's obviously taking his influences from the Frank Miller era.
And even Frank Miller was slightly more coherent when he was on his game.
Yeah.
So, with that, I'm really excited for Wonder Woman. Because Snyder's not touching that. He isn't. Like, they have other people. And
I'm excited that it could be something really good.
Yeah.
And hopefully the start of a new universe.
Yeah.
Just,
keep Lois. Oh my gosh, because,
keep all the actors. Just like say, oh, that was Earth 562. Here's Earth 563.
I don't think DC numbers them like that. But that's okay.
Universe A and Universe B. Why can't you be Universe B? I want to be Universe A.
Okay, anyway. So, that's all we got. I'm done. I'm so tired. I've thought about this movie, like, all day, and I'm still confused by it. I would say, like, rent it. If you haven't seen it yet, and you are a DC fan, I would say maybe rent it. Just don't, like, necessarily go out to a big theater, because it's so dark. It's not a pretty movie.
It's not a pretty movie. There's some shots that are okay, but, I mean, most of the time you're not.
Yeah, I would rent it if you're really, and if you want to see it for what, like, right now, okay, just, we're warning you, it's grim.
Grim, gritty, dark. It's like
weird, and it's a weird movie.
It's a weird movie. Like, there's so many weird and odd and just...
And I think I said...
awful choices.
I said fairly generously that I think I like about 25% of this movie, but that 25% is spread out throughout the 75% that I thought was either weird or gross or horrible. So...
the plot doesn't cohesively flow. The character like, you could see what the plot was afterwards, like you can piece it together and be like, oh, so that's how that was supposed to work. But like, they never establish anything for you. Like, they never go through and say, oh, this is how this happened, and this is how Lex figured out Clark was Superman. This is how they never put the puzzle pieces together.
It should have been something that we could have seen
developed through
in the movie. They shouldn't have had to.
There's so many things that there aren't here, but there are so many things that are here that shouldn't be. And the things that should be here to make the plot flow together and structured right aren't here in this movie.
Yeah. So I got nothing else. You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Alright, Katie and Mike, justplainsomething.com, and we'll see you later. Bye.